I've always loved the old stories of the Knights of the Round Table. Those legends represent the most romantic times in Britain's past. The Knights of the Round Table were supposed to be the strongest and fiercest warriors of their day. They could have been bullies, but instead they lived by the code of chivalry. I've heard that word before. What does it mean? Chivalrous knights, or people, use their strength to protect the weak or defenseless, not to pick on them. Chivalry demands that a knight be courteous, brave, loyal, and generous. It's always been a pet peeve of mine that the British Museum, doesn't have an exhibit that shows off this wonderful age in Britain's history. Because it's made up, you dumbass. But are the tales of Camelot and King Arthur really part of history, or are they just stories? Well, that really is the problem. If it were ever proven that Arthur was a true king, and the legends were based in solid fact, I could get a grant to open an Arthurian exhibit here at the museum. He totally just jizzed himself. He was like, Arthur exhibit, all mine. What do you want, Trib? Mr. Buckley has always been flawed when it comes to romantic notions. His fascination with King Arthur has always surprised me. Not the sort of thing you'd expect in a curator of such a famous museum. Look at Percy, he's all superior. He's like, that oaf Buckley. I should totally have his job. I'd expect that kind of fanciful drivel to be more along the lines of that so-called Professor Mathan. His latest book is all about Arthur and the wild stories built around him, you know. Is Professor Mathan the one who calls Trib and Buckley, like, stupid assholes, and Trib his sniveling toady in that later mystery? Or is that someone else? Ooh, rivalry. It's just the sort of thing Buckley loves. Still, I can hardly believe he appealed to that fanatic Stalls for support. Stalls is the head of that mad bunch of throwbacks who call themselves the Knight of the Modern Round Table. They're always dressing up in armor and putting on tournaments at the local fairs. I sometimes think they do just about anything for attention, but I suppose they make a pretty penny off all those jousts and all the souvenirs they sell. Oh, Percy, you're just jealous that they don't invite you to participate. I want to dress up as Guinevere, but they won't let me. I bet that would impress Robin. Don't ever change, Percy. See? David Stalls! What the fuck? It was Dennis earlier. Game, you know what? Just because you were made in 1993 does not give you an excuse to be careless. David Stalls publishes Nightlife from his shop here at Covent Garden. Let's see what he has to say about King Arthur. This guy is the biggest loser in the whole game, for real. Just look at him. He probably lives in his parents' basement. I've been interested in King Arthur since I was a lad. That's why I opened this shop. I've always known that the old tales were true, so this new finding was no surprise to me. What new finding is that, Mr. Stalls? That's it, Jen. Play dumb. Haven't you heard? They've discovered an ancient scroll written by the great wizard Merlin that reveals the truth about King Arthur. I'm sure it'll be in the papers soon. Ho, ho, ho. That'll do wonders for business around here. It's just the sort of thing that will perk up interest in medieval times. People will flock here to pick up their authentic tentacle collector's plates and spoon sets. I bet Carson wants a spoon set to take back to Fenton. I brought you something. The scroll proves that Arthur was born at Tintagel, just like the legends say. Wouldn't you like to pick up a miniature Tintagel castle model while you're about? They won't last. Mr. Stall's shop is filled with every imaginable King Arthur souvenir. He carries King Arthur books, postcards, pins, erasers, keychains, and cereal bowls. Several boxes underneath the main table are marked Tintagel Castle models. Oh, David/Dennis. He probably spent like a week straight making that stupid scroll. Like dyeing and aging the paper, working on his penmanship. It's like, Mom, look, I finished it. Oh, that's nice, David dear. Go back to the basement. Oxford, great! I bet we can catch Professor Mathan in his classroom. He's supposed to be an expert on old stories and legends. If anyone knows anything about King Arthur, it'll be him. Oh no, wait, it was Harry Parker who made that snide comment about Trib and Buckley. He was like, oh, yes, bloody hell, I'm so glad Professor Mathan got the job. Percy tried to date rape my nephew. What? Professor Mathan, we've heard that you just wrote a book about King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Do you think those stories might be real? Damn, his beard is like engulfing his face. I'd love to believe that the stories about King Arthur were true, Jennifer, but it's just not very likely. The tales of King Arthur are very popular, partly because they're filled with magic and heroic deeds, but no one has ever found any proof of a real King Arthur. In all my studies, the closest I've ever come is a little mention in the Easter Annals. I have a translation here on my desk. But even the Easter Annals don't call Arthur a king. He's mentioned as a great hero and warrior, not a ruler. Legends are often built around real people, even in more modern times. I've heard a story about your President Washington tossing a coin across a river called the Potomac. Yeah, I've heard that one. Now, President Washington was a real man, but I doubt very much that he was strong enough to toss a coin across a huge river like that. Stupid Americans. I suspect that there was indeed a great warrior called Arthur once. He may have won great victories in ancient times. Perhaps he even became a powerful king. In any case, he made such an impression on his people that they created these wonderful stories about him. The tales about Arthur have grown and grown, so that now the name King Arthur is known throughout the English-speaking world. That's why I expect my book will do so well. Those legends are as popular today as they've ever been. Of course, I imagine that if we could prove that King Arthur really did exist, my book would sell even better. Everyone is so greedy. The Easter Annals are calendars created by monks almost 1400 years ago to mark when Easter occurred that year. In the margins of the calendars, the monks noted the important event of that year. Professor Mathan has translated some of those early notes. They mention a leader named Arthur winning great battles in 518 AD and being killed in battle in 541 AD. Oh, you're still talking. These passages in the Easter Annals are the only proof we have that a great leader named Arthur existed. If he truly was a historical figure, he must have lived in the 6th century AD. But these notes all talk about the 500s. That's right. The calendar we use separates dates by the birth of Christ. The time before Christ is called BC, before Christ. The time after Christ's birth is called AD, from the Latin Anno Domini, or in the year of our Lord. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, we know. Centuries. Geez, Jennifer. Making our country look stupid yet again. Oh, but it says it was the year 500.